This is well. Bless you, brother.
Anybody standing in trial or coming to try me is a terrorist. That's what their law says. Section what?
As simple as that.
Section 2, subsection 3F of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. That's what it says. Any court considered to try me is committing an act of terrorism.
Yes.
It's very clear. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then come to try that very person is not done anywhere in the world. So you must be aware of that. So that is why there is all these ridiculous delays. That is what Supreme Court said. I did not jump bail. My home was invaded. They came to kill me and I survived. They came to Kenya to kidnap me, brought me back to this country and seeking to try me, which the law says cannot happen. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then hope to stand on that illegality to conduct a trial is not done anywhere in the world.
Where's the lying news agency of Nigeria? Are they here? Those liars and deceivers, are they here? That distort the news. You don't know what law is. You don't know what justice is. Where's the news agency of Nigeria? What are they? You don't know that God is a God of justice. You don't know that? That God in heaven is a God of justice. You don't know that?
But that's what you wrote. You said here, my lord, that the defendant has now applied for bail. Now, as I've said earlier, bail is a discretion of the court, taking into consideration all the conditions laid down in Muhammad Abacha v. State. At this stage, I am of the opinion that to make or take a stand on the bail application without first hearing and determine the issue that is glaring in the face, which is the absence of the defendant from the court since 25th of April 2017 until he was produced on the 29th of June. My lord, which was exactly what the Supreme Court did. They said that he did not jump bail. These criminals came to my house to kill me. That's what the Supreme Court said. This is in your own court, my lord. So I cannot understand, my lord, why my trial will be conducted contrary to the Constitution of Nigeria that said I must have free and unfettered access to my counsel. It's here. Okay, he did something in my case. I refused him. He was public official. I asked him to refuse himself. Why did the chief judge insist and have a question? Anybody who disagrees with this order of court, go to appeal court. That's what you tell me all the time. You are from this official. You cannot preside over this case number again. Not in this life. You cannot. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. I want over here cannot force this court to preside on my case. You cannot. Not today, not till forever. You are recused and you stand with the truth. Tell the chief judge, Nnamdi Kanu said, go on appeal. I recused him from my case. The state recused Justice Adema from my case. I did not insist. Adema must hear my case. I never insisted. So why must you insist to hear my case? I don't want to hear my case. A chairman of the board of directors was a resume propriety. Nowhere in the world such nonsense law. You cannot be hobnobbing with lawyers, hobnobbing with justices, and you're proceeding a case. It's shameful. Absolutely shameful. Shameful. This is not a court of law. This is a shrine to injustice. And I will not subject myself to it. You stand recused and you must read my case. You cannot buy me.
I simply applied for a big trial of the defendant.
This man is not paying attention. There is an order of recusal, and he's a senior advocate for goodness sake. There's an order of recusal. Is that not the rule of law? The law says if you disagree with this, you go and appeal. You are a grown-up man. Because of His Lordship Peter Yebe will not try my case. Not on this planet Earth, I'm telling you that now. So stop wasting your time.
So that as I said, the issue of the past that the defendant has indicated that he will not make a formal application. I advise that the motion give us a 70 days for hearing.
You are not well. You are not well. I'm telling you, this is not well. This is an order of court. An order of court. It's an order of court.
I take your permission.
It's an order of court. This is national judicial policy of this country. Please give them a copy each. National judicial policy of Nigeria. National judicial policy. I will tell you what it says. Because you don't know, I will tell you. Talking about memo from the Chief Judge of the High Court. Judicial policy of Nigeria, 1C, I'm reading, verbatim. In the performance of judicial functions, the judge is subject only to the law and must only consider the law. The rule of law in every common law jurisdiction in the world is that once an order of court is entered, the only way to set aside it is by going on appeal. That's the rule of law. But it's not okay, you don't know. I will go to see. A judge must not take or attempt to take orders or instructions of any kind from anyone, even the chief judge, from anybody that may influence his decisions in the performance of judicial function. It means that his lordship, having entered an order of court, a decision.
Well, I think if we have gotten to that point of we need to properly begin to define things the way they are. I think Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is getting a lot more fresh breath now, because there's nobody that's going to say, sit down, let me, take it up from here. He's bent on getting straight to the point, before now, we started hearing names of Aisha Buhari is going to be involved, Wike and the rest of them are going to be involved, and of course, Buhari's name should be, but he said the wife, Aisha, should represent the husband anyway, but from the revelation we are seeing now, from what Jason Motosho did, giving the voices that are of advocacy coming from the elite political class from the southern part of the country. I make reference to Ned Nwoko, who is a service senator presently, where he came out publicly on air and disclosed to the whole world, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu cannot be tried. Because one, there's a court order, that has not been vacated, So, and this is what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has actually maintained for a very long time when he was saying that, right here in this court, I will defeat them, So the matter has gone beyond, what people think, even though it's clearly that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is being held, not according by law, but according to interest. Now that interest now has become a national embarrassment, had put Nigeria to a point of mockery, especially coming from the judicial institutions, where everybody believed the law, they are the holders of the law, the hope of the common man, even if you get there, definitely by omission or commission, you'll be able to get justice. But it shows very clearly that, among all the judges in Nigeria, the Nigerian Judicial Council, the NBA, and many of them, could not be able to provide a particular judge immediately Binta Nyako left. And Binta Nyako told the whole world as at that time that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a higher reality, and it will be very difficult for him to squeeze him to a corner, but when people thought that was not true, we saw Jason Motosho, imagine from nowhere, but this Jason Motosho has a very controversial judgment that has painted him in another angle when he passed a certain judgment in Rivers State against the governor elect then, talking about Simi Fubara, So from there, we begin to start to know who this James Omotosho really is. And we begin to see that his judgment, pronunciation, towards Mazi Nnamdi Kanu might likely, not being according to law, might be according to a certain agreed plan to make it look as if it is the law that judged him. But you can see all of a sudden Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was able to twist that dangerous ambush by the federal government, and by saying that it's going to involve some kind of witnesses. I'm not giving the whole world how we got to a point where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has finally split the Nigerian judiciary, split the federal system, and split anything that has to do with the foundation that lead to legal interpretations in Nigeria concerning the issue that has to do with terrorism and treasonable charges. We can go along, but what they don't know is that this Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case has attracted, world court art. I repeat, it has attracted world court art to the extent. I think that's where the federal government needs to be very careful now, because the Supreme Court judge of one of the nations in Africa, I don't want to mention the name, but his name ended with Edo, made it very clearly that there's a state Nigerian government will push Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to defend himself, which is a suicide mission. It might get to a point that the World Court Act will be invoked on Nigeria, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will definitely walk away with referendum right there inside the court. With referendum, that's what the man is saying. Right there inside the court. We have seen people who have gone to court before to defend themselves. It's nothing new. But in this kind of situation, a little bit dangerous for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But I think to an extent, he has been able to tell the whole world how innocent he is.
Well, you said, right there in the court that the World Court can declare or give Nnamdi Kanu the referendum of Biafra that he wants. But this is Nigeria that has not obeyed the 2022 UN Working Committee order to release Nnamdi Kanu. So do you think that this government will want to obey the World Court Act, just like you said?
Let me just tell you, too many fish in the pond can stir up the mud. That's what James Hadley Chase actually said. By the time you begin to gather all the atrocities Nigerian government has carried out against human rights, let me just put it that way, it has become so enormous, and it has become something that has become, the whole world has come to notice it. So at any point the world wants to strike Nigeria, and they're going to strike Nigeria from different angles, just like what we are experiencing in the Middle East currently now. Everything that is happening in Nigeria is being documented, which will be used against Nigeria at any particular time. Can the lawyers or the son or the legal luminaries of this country deny the knowledge that they don't know there's a World Court Act that can be invoked on a situation like where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu find itself? That's a clear fact. They will not come and tell you. But you can see the delegates from World Court, who visited Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has already made it publicly that Nigeria should be careful unless they walk away with the referendum right there in the court, because by the time and if they fail to do it, it means Nigeria is attracting consequences of international community, World Court, ICC, and a lot of that, and that will be too dangerous for Nigeria. Thank God, to an extent now, the matter has taken place, and it has been adjourned. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has come out very clearly and stated his position that he has gone through the case file, that he didn't see anything incriminating, that he has no case to answer. And this is the position of that man. One, under William Ruto currently now, we saw the decision of the Kenyan court. Not only that, we saw several court in judgment, saying that this man is innocent, he didn't commit any crime. Not only that, their own Fulani courts too, pronounced judgments that up to the appeal court. And I can give you an insight of what the Supreme Court said on each of the charges that was against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You can go and verify. One was the Supreme Court ruled that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not jump in. So there's no justification for that. That is one. Two, that the matter that has gotten to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made a written, judgment on the matter, and which they are supposed to abide first before any trial. Instead, what did they do? They connived with Buhari, Malami, Femi Adesina. They were the people that held the ground meeting and went and bribed Kenyan police officers to commit criminality and go against the Commonwealth Treaty, which has become a major international embarrassment and threat to Nigerian system and government and judiciary at this moment. And based on that, that is where the lion himself, the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the supreme leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, the unstoppable, the unquenchable, the man who has come to define a certain era and moment, the man who has championed Africanism, the man who has brought another dimension of freedom fighting, a man who has opened destinies to many Africans and have become a reference point in Africa today. I can tell you, so many personalities are talking about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today, not because of anything, but at least a black man needs to have a rethink. A black man needs to understand that, he too has a destiny on this part of the world. Thank you.
But we've seen Nedwoko come out just recently. He said in an interview that he met with the president, and the president admitted that there are security issues in the country and even in the southeast. But Nnamdi Kanu have said severally that, just give me 2 minutes and there will be peace in the southeast. But why is it that the president and the government don't want to throw towards this part of releasing Nnamdi Kanu so that at least we know that there can be peace again in the south? Why is it that they have other ulterior motives?
Bro, let me address Mr. Nedwoko Umahi and what do they call the man from Abia State, Ojiso Kalu Soludo, and the rest of them. I wish you would be able to share this video very well, and I'll be able to tell the likes of Nedwoko and the rest of them, including Umahi, they are not doing anybody any good at this point in time. Whether they are trying to repent, including Uhopu Zadima, that is a business at this point in time. The opportunity for nationalism, the opportunity for unity, the opportunity which was given to Nigeria, to seek, internal cohesion of existence has elapsed. That is one. Two, the workers should not be in a hurry, because we know that the issue of state creation is highly manipulated to favor the politicians. I can make reference to Gani Adams' statement some time ago, where he outlined the art of regionalism, the system which we are talking about. What is regionalism they are talking about? Gani Adams made it very clearly, which kind of regionalism? Is it regionalism with states or outright regionalism? They went about creating states. Now you said you are adding another one more state to Southeast to make it 6. Now the same National Assembly is creating more states in the other region. How does that actually balance now? Networker, let me tell you, I thank you for that consciousness, because I know the area where you maintain a certain point and truth. That's the reason, because you say that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in detention is not justifiable. Also, the Woloshenka has come to say it's unfortunate that we have Buhari as president that went and committed and invaded sovereignty just because you want to kidnap somebody, and you did a criminal act and still brought him to your court, and you are committing many more crimes on that. So you can see that there's no balance of national cause when it comes to marginalization of Igbo. When it comes to the marginalization, there's no doubt, So what we are seeking is outright disintegration, balkanization of this entity called Nigeria, where every region will be able to define and understand his destiny. And that is what it means. IPOB is one of the most peaceful organizations in the world. Guinness Book of Records. Nigeria brought insecurity to the southeast not because of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Let me give you an instance for those who does not understand what happened in Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's house, where 28 young youths took live bullets with their chests without any provocation. That was the beginning. So brutally, Buhari or Aisha, whoever they are, should be taken to ICC. As simple as that, not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that is killing people in Benue. It's not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that is alive in Nigeria in all ramification. There's this quest of Christian genocide everywhere now. Can they come out and say this clearly that it was Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that is responsible? But I can tell you, I can give you instances of nations or countries that have come to that point where we are seeing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today. And that is a signal that the fourth Jewish black nation in Africa is about to emerge, and nobody can take it away from there. And we saw it in Awolowo. We saw it in Awolowo. We saw it in Washington. We saw it in Muhammad Gandhi. We saw it in so many personalities all over the world. At the time, at this point now, you can say that Yorubas are enjoying the legacy of Awolowo and the rest of them. So that's the point where he is actually making there. Nigeria need to go their separate ways. That's the simple truth.
Okay, lastly, do you think it's too late to negotiate with Nnamdi Kanu, or do you think that the Nigerian government will be so proud to negotiate so that this matter can end once and for all?
The point of negotiation is to return Nigeria to Aburi. You see, outside that it cannot work. Return Nigeria to Aburi. Government should come and confess. It's as simple as that. Return Nigeria to Aburi. It's a very simple thing. Even as a one entity.
But it's no longer the leader or the current or one. I don't know, but he doesn't have the capacity again.
But let him come out, and make it a press statement. And because his own people are being killed in the Middle Belt too. I think that you understand. So I was born a free man. Why would I become a slave in Nigeria? Just because I want to answer one Nigeria. There's no justification for that. When I was born an Ipob man, a free man. Then I came. When I became a Nigerian, so to say, then I became a slave. That's not possible. No Hausa man will take that. No Yoruba man will take that. And that's the question of reality that everybody needs to answer. If Nigeria fails to renegotiate and negotiate, return Nigeria to regionalism, return Nigeria to Aburi, the question of conquest will ever, and we continue to have more and more and more and more of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. My final message to United Nations, to AU and the EU and ECOWAS is very straight. There's a purpose of which these organizations were established. And the fundamental purpose, the aim and objective of those organizations is as a result of conflict resolution. They have not been able to live up to that expectation. And therefore, I invoke the spirit of the executive order of the United States of America under Donald Trump to issue executive